Part 35. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wangshi-san. Chapter 341. After arriving at the level 4 area, Yuchen went straight forward and quickly arrived at the Dark Camp. That is, within the main city of Dark Camp LV4. Yuchen continued to move forward, passing through many enemy villages and small towns along the way. Capture any village or town and obtain at least 2,000 merit points. In fact, it is very easy for Yuchen to capture a village or small town now. But he didn't do that. Now he had important things to do, and he didn't want to alert the enemy before completing them. System, you found Zaiwan village, recognition add 10 points. 2 hours later, Yuchen arrived at his destination. Yuchen walked sneakily on the streets of Zaiwan village and soon came to the village chief's home. The village chief is an old man with an immortal spirit. He is sitting at the table drinking tea, and there is a group of players from the Dark Camp next to him. Those players seem to be begging the village chief, begging for something in a low voice, but the village chief looked silent and ignored them at all. CIAO, the old guy is so shameless. Brothers, he refuses to send missions, shall we kill him? After 2 days of improving my favorability, this old guy still doesn't appreciate it. I'll just blow it up. The players gradually became impatient, and each of them looked fierce. The old village chief was startled. Just as he was about to say something, the guys slashed at them with their swords. Ah! The old village chief screamed with disbelief on his face. His health bar instantly dropped to death. There was a bang and items fell to the ground. Among them, there is a shining golden key. Haha, I understand, this key can open the door to the backyard. Well, now we can know what is hidden in this old guy's backyard. Hee, maybe there is something good. We are going to make a big contribution this time. These guys are all players from the Demon God Guild, and they act wildly. If the NPC doesn't cooperate, they'll just cut them off. Let's go. The leader picked up the key, said hello, and led his men towards the backyard. The group of people were already familiar with the journey and soon came to an iron gate. The group leader took out the key and opened the iron gate with a click. That's... The leader, Tai Men, was stunned for a moment after leading his men into the backyard. I saw a black well in the empty backyard. From time to time, some black evil spirits would fly out from the mouth of the well, dancing in the air and letting out a sinister laughter. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The evil spirit suddenly attacked, making everyone startled. However, the evil spirit only penetrated their bodies and did not cause any harm. The black evil spirit cannot be identified. It should not be a monster, but just a special effect produced by the black well. The leader said something, calmed down, and then looked towards the black well. His pupils dilated for a moment, and he said ecstatically, "Hidden copy. It's so developed that there is a hidden copy here." Hearing this, everyone was stunned for a moment, then became ecstatic. They are all elite players of the Demon God Guild, considered first-line players, so they naturally know what it means to hide a dungeon. That's the reward, a very generous reward. Let's clear up the wasteland first. The group leader swallowed, everyone nodded, and strode towards the black well. Suddenly, a strong wind blew by, and Yuchen sneered and stood in front of everyone. "Sorry, I can't give this copy to you," Yuchen chuckled. "This black well is actually an altar, indeed a copy, and its name is Altar of Evil. This dungeon, like Tujula's tombstone, is a hidden dungeon that will only be opened once a month. At this time, if the enemy is allowed to enter first, Yuchen will not be able to enter. Because of this, Yuchen will not let it go." "Red name?" "No. This guy is from the light camp." "Tisk, tisk, good guy. You single-handedly entered the Dark Camp and dare to provoke our Demon God Guild. Looking for death. You don't take us, the devil, seriously." Yuchen was alone, but he blocked an elite group with a loud voice. Everyone in the Demon God Guild felt insulted and immediately shouted angrily, "Kill!" The roar sounded, and the demon gods and everyone either activated buff or rushed directly to start fighting. However, they only saw a dart shot out, and then Yechen teleported and stepped on the dart, then raised his hand and slashed a teammate to death. This damage is a bit explosive. Everyone gasped as they looked at the damage coming out of their dead teammates' heads. At this moment, Yechen and Xiahe separated to release Blade Storm. The moment the top appeared, they each killed 3 people instantly, and both of them accumulated combo points. Dress Up, Storm Necklace, the finishing blow, Destroying Storm. The 2 tops rotated violently, plowing the ground, and simultaneously shot out countless flaming darts. With a continuous puff, puff, puff sound, a large number of people were hit by the darts and fell to the ground dead. In just 1 second, a large number of people in the team died, leaving only the leader. He is a shield warrior. He keeps banging and banging, and he raises his shield to block the darts, but there is only the last trace of HP left. What a scary guy, even the president can't do this kind of harm. The leader broke out in a cold sweat, and the flame darts were still being shot. He had already started to parry, and he felt the tiger's mouth was numb. After 2 bangs, another flame dart was shot. He had reached his limit, and the giant shield blocked the dart again, but was blown away. His HP dropped to 0, and he fell to the ground dead. Sure enough, with my current strength, ordinary players can't stop me at all. Yechen smiled slightly, turned on automatic pickup, and swept away the spoils. At this time, the corpses had disappeared, indicating that they had returned to the city and resurrected. And the Demon God Guild would definitely not swallow this breath, they would definitely send more and more elite troops to intercept. Yechen could think of this, but he didn't care at all. Since he came to the Dark Camp today, he was ready to fight a big fight, and he would not go back unless he was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel. Team Teleport. Yechen used Team Teleport again and pulled Shueshu over. "Master, you are too fast. I can't keep up with your speed at all." Shueshu smiled bitterly. Yechen smiled slightly, "It doesn't matter, let's brush the dungeon next." After speaking, Yechen jumped directly into the black well, and Shueshu also turned into a stream of light and rushed into the black well. System, you found the evil altar, recognition add 100 points. As the system prompt sounded, Yechen and Shueshu came to an underground palace. There was a sea of black fire underground, and countless black evil spirits were floating in the sky, making strange laughter. Evil Spirit, Elite. Level 46. HP, / Skills, Penetration, Fear Howl. Features, Physical Immunity. Magic Conduction Potion. Chaos Resistance Potion. Yechen took 2 bottles of potions in a row, and then began to harvest frantically. On the other side, the blood tree was all physical attack skills, and it couldn't take Magic Conduction Potion. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 342. Demon God Guild. Boss, we found a hidden copy in the old village chief's house in Xiwan village. After those guys were killed by Yechen, they felt they couldn't hold on anymore, so they immediately gave the news to Left Hand Heaven. Great, hello to the brothers, let's go get the hidden copy. Heaven on the left laughed and greeted Hell on the right next to him. The latter nodded and was about to take action, but was interrupted by the group leader. Wait a minute, boss, I still have something to say. It's like this. There is a player from the light camp, his name is Yechen. He killed my team and entered the dungeon first. The leader said cautiously. He originally thought that the boss would be furious, but after hearing the name of the night god, Heaven and Hell fell into a brief sluggish state. Yechen? When the camp war just started, that guy conquered 8 positions of the dark camp and gained us in vain. That guy should have some strength, otherwise he wouldn't be able to jump like that. And in the tournament, he seems to be the champion of the light camp. Heaven on the left hand and hell on the right hand looked at each other, and there was indeed such a person in their minds. The light camp is the weakest of the 3 major camps. Without the king, even if Yeshen is the champion, he will not have much gold content. Zhuotian Tian smiled, and the main players nodded after hearing this. After all, they also know the terror of the king. In a game without the participation of the king, even the championship is nothing. Zhuotian Tian continued, but that kid is acting recklessly in our dark camp and challenging our group alone. In terms of strength, he is worthy of mentioning. In short, we can't take it lightly, but we don't need to take Yagami too seriously. Zhuotian Tian smiled and said, you can imagine the difficulty of the level 4 Shadow Tibetan copy. He can't pass it alone. Hell, let's go. Just go and open up Wasteland normally. On the other side, inside the copy of Altar of Evil, Yuchen was slaying the evil spirits by himself, but the blood tree was completely unable to intervene because it did not have the means to attack with magic. The damage of evil spirits is quite high. A large number of evil spirits penetrate Yuchen's body at the same time, which can knock out a lot of Yuchen's HP. But Yuchen's slash was basically an instant kill, because the abyssal demon's HP was replenished by killing people, and the lost HP could be replenished in an instant. A few minutes later, Yuchen eliminated a large group of black evil spirits and continued to move forward with the blood tree. Not long after, bright firelight flickered in front, and a group of men with ferocious faces were seen rushing towards them, holding torches and howling. Villain, Elite. Level 46. HP slash. Skills, blow fire, explosive flame technique. These villains are like humanoid monsters, wearing black uniforms with the same kind of blood-colored flowers on the chests of their shirts. Their expressions are ferocious, like members of a cult. They rushed over with torches in hand, poured a gulp of fuel, and then blew on the torches, which produced several tongues of flames that fiercely hit Yechen. 23. 23. 23. Weak damage appeared from the top of his head. Yechen smiled coldly. Now that he has incredible fire resistance, he can completely ignore the normal fire damage. This guy has such high fire resistance. Distribute the attack. One of the thugs, with a red stripe on his black uniform, seemed to be the captain. His expression became even more ferocious. Seeing that Yechen was almost ignoring Cui Huo, he immediately roared and his thugs quickly dispersed. Bloody blade. War cry. Run. Yechen activated the buff, strode forward, raised his hand and slashed a villain with a knife. You won't die in a second, Yechen muttered, then turned on the poison quenching, and applied the hot venom to the bloody blade, which suddenly flashed with a strange black and red light. He slashed with the sword again, dealing serious damage, killing the villain with residual health. Although the villain's blood volume is so high that Yechen can't kill him instantly with one knife, he is almost 100% poisoned and bleeding. The villain's remaining blood couldn't last even a second. As a result, Yechen shuttled among the monsters, sometimes using basic attacks and sometimes using skills. Regardless of whether he killed the enemy instantly or not, he turned around and attacked the next one. And a second later, those miserable guys with residual blood, poison, and blood on their bodies, held on for a second and screamed to death. When Yuchen was killing in an instant, the blood tree was also attacking, stretching out a large number of branches and whipping them like tentacles. The black sea of fire on the ground spattered. However, although the blood tree has excellent group attack, its single target damage is low. Each branch will only do more than 1000 damage when whipped. If this damage is dealt to players, it can instantly kill squishy professions. However, it is a bit powerless to deal with monsters. Blood Tree, you don't need to attack, use entanglement, Yuchen commanded. The next moment, the outstretched branches of the Blood Tree bent, entangling many villains. Then, Yuchen slaughtered wantonly, blowing fire or blasting fire on him, only causing weak damage. Yuchen was not afraid at all. Seeing that there were too many villains, he immediately changed his clothes and used Destruction Storm. The next moment, Yuchen and Xiahe turned into battle tops and spun fiercely, shooting out countless flame darts, and the sound of puff, puff, puff resounded endlessly. In the blink of an eye, only the villain captain was left. This guy was the leader and had 60,000 HP. But now he was being shot at by a large number of flame darts, with only the last trace of HP left. Zhensing level 4. Suddenly, the huge body of the Blood Tree shook, the ground also trembled, black flames floated, dash. Ah, the captain screamed and fell to the ground dead. Looking at the loot falling all over the ground, Yuchen and Blood Tree used automatic pickup, but in the end, everything would go to Yuchen's package. Hee, that's good. The cleaning efficiency is much faster than when I clean it alone. Hee. After cleaning up the loot, Yuchen and Shueshu smiled at each other and continued to move forward. At this time, a large group kicked open the iron gate of the village chief's backyard and rushed in mightily. The leader is a berserker, who is surprisingly left-hand heaven. He wears the major medal of the Dark Camp on his chest. The large group behind him is the commander-in-chief of the major -300 people. He obviously came prepared to take down the hidden copy in one fell swoop. At this moment, he led the group to the backyard and immediately saw the black well, and some black evil spirits appeared from time to time above the black well. The black evil spirit was extremely fast and rushed over in an instant, piercing through some players including Heaven. It caused everyone to scream in panic. However, these black evil spirits are not monsters, but just special effects. Calm down, what are you like in a panic? Zhuotian Tian snorted coldly, causing everyone behind him to remain silent. That dark well is the entrance to the hidden copy, right? Zhuotian Tian muttered to himself, and then he concentrated on the observation to prove his conjecture, and his face suddenly showed excitement. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, Ba Wangshi-san. Chapter 343. You know, after the LV3 main city, each main city basically has only one copy. It is obvious that the game planner did it on purpose, on the one hand to control the issuance of skill points, and on the other hand, to control the output of purple equipment. Of course, if there is only one copy, the difficulty can be imagined. The final boss is at least a Golden Lord. Difficulty is generally proportional to the benefits. The greater the difficulty, the greater the benefits. Ordinary copies are still like this, and hidden copies are even more deadly. Google searched Can. When he thought of this, Zhuo Tiantang and others were trembling with excitement. At this moment, Zhuo Tiantang waved his hand and led the group to the black well, and then Zhuo Tiantang jumped down. But at this time, a layer of black energy shield popped out of the well mouth and bounced it away. Right-handed Hell next to him was startled and hurriedly reached out to hold it up to prevent Tiantang from falling. Tiantang was embarrassed after almost falling, and the system prompt that sounded in his ears made him both shocked and angry. System, Evil Altar is only open once a month. Someone has already grabbed it this month. Please prepare early on the first day of next month. This hidden copy is actually open once a month, Zhuo Tiantang exclaimed. Everyone was also surprised. Zhuo Tiantang's face was gloomy. Now Yechen has grabbed the copy, making it impossible for him to enter. Yechen, he is alone, and he must not be able to clear the hidden copy. But he grabbed the quota. Zuo Xiao Tiantang's roar echoed in the backyard. All his subordinates were silent, and at the same time they secretly sweated for Ye Chen. Now Ye Chen has offended the boss of Tiantang to death, and there must be no good end. Sure enough, Zuo Xiao Tiantang was silent for a second, and said grimly, "Let's wait here. When he comes out, kill him." On the other side, Ye Chen was completely unaware of the situation outside the black well, and he kept moving forward. Intermediate mental stimulation elixir, as if it is free, once it cools down, Ye Chen will knock out a bottle to reduce the CD of the skill. Thieves, or assassins, play with continuous output, strong skill continuity, and relatively short CD. Now reduce the CD by 30%, Ye Chen's seconds are smoother. After changing clothes, a destruction storm will kill a large number of people in a puff second. Blade Storm is the core skill of thieves. At first, the damage and speed are not enough. After Ye Chen practiced Blade Storm, it was more powerful with the increase of Storm Necklace. And the final move of Blade Storm, Destruction Storm, Ye Chen used it more handy. At first, Ye Chen's group attack only had the final move, Piercing. The damage of Piercing is naturally explosive, but the range of group attack is only a line after all, and the Destruction Storm, because of the darts fired, is completely a large-scale strangulation. At the moment, Ye Chen pays more attention to the Destruction Storm. "Master, you are really amazing. I want to fight side by side with you, but it seems that I can't help much," Sushu exclaimed. "Don't say that, my strength is inseparable from your feedback power." Ye Chen smiled slightly. In fact, Sushu is now a Golden Lord, and his strength is not bad, but Ye Chen is too strong, he kills all the way, and no one can intervene. Although Sushu can't help with output, he can help control and entangle the monsters tightly. In this way, Ye Chen can kill them in seconds, and it is more smooth. As time passed, Ye Chen came to the end of the first level of the dungeon. There was also a villain in front, and unlike ordinary captains, his black uniform had 3 red stripes on it. This is the Lord. HP is as high as 180,000. Flying Thunder God. Piercing the heart. Ye Chen teleported over, released the previously accumulated combo points, and launched the Piercing Heart. The red light pierced the body of the small boss, and the latter looked unbelievable. Because it was not a backstab, the damage of the Piercing Heart was half of that. Even so, it dealt nearly 200,000 damage and killed it in one move. After cleaning up the spoils, Ye Chen stepped on the corpse and moved forward to the next level. Coming towards him were still humanoid monsters, some of whom had swollen bodies. Some were so skinny that they looked like walking skeletons. Rage Believer, Elite. Level 48. HP, / Skills, Blowing Fire, Explosive Fire, Flame Explosion. Rage Believers seemed stronger, but they were still elites, and Ye Chen killed them at will. Ye Chen ignored the opponent's fire attack because killing people restored blood. And it didn't matter if the blood tree was attacked. After all, with 1.45 million HP, it was not easy to die even if it stood in a group of monsters. In addition, the blood tree had a passive blood-sucking ability. Whether it was whipping or entanglement, it would suck blood. Blood-sucking has a certain output, and the output damage will be converted into HP to replenish the blood tree. Because of this, the blood tree's HP is almost always full, and Ye Chen doesn't have to worry about its safety at all. After 10 minutes, Ye Chen crushed to the end of the second level. The one standing in front was no longer a believer, but a preacher of the cult. He was wearing a black windbreaker, grinning at Ye Chen, and his whole body was full of evil. Unlike ordinary preachers, you should know that only gods are qualified to preach to mortals. So ordinary preachers are called preachers of gods. This guy is different, he is a preacher of a cult, that is, his master, the founder of the cult, is not a god. Humble mortal, first of all, congratulations on coming here. If you can defeat me, you may be favored by that lord. Of course, you may not have the strength to do so. The cult preacher grinned and chattered non-stop. Suddenly, Yechen rushed over like lightning, went around behind him, and pierced his body directly. Blood spurted out like a fountain. Dash. Sir, please forgive my previous rudeness. The chest was pierced by a red laser, and the cult preacher spit out a mouthful of blood. He felt his life slipping away, but his face was full of ecstasy. He said respectfully, his eyes quickly dimmed, and he fell to the ground and died. Killing the cult preacher with a knife, Yechen put away the knife and casually shook off the blood on the blood blade. Then, he cleaned up the spoils and slowly walked into the third level. It is also the last level of Evil Altar. Entering the third level, Yechen felt that he had walked into a colorful space, surrounded by a rainbow, gorgeous like a fantasy. Yechen had seen such a beautiful environment in Dujula's hero monument. A similar environment. After all, Dujula was a girl, so even in the cemetery space, she was dressed more gorgeously, and there were even balloons of various colors floating in the air. This space was not big. Yechen looked up and saw an old man in a black robe sitting on a bench made of skulls. The old man looked haggard, his eyes were sunken and lifeless, and his face was full of wrinkles, making his whole face look like dry bark. A head of pale hair hung down and fell on the black robe. This old man, although he was just sitting, had a substantial murderous aura all over his body. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wangshi-san. Chapter 344. Yechen was quite far away from him, but he was still affected by his murderous aura, and all his attributes dropped by 30%. This murderous aura is exactly the same as the Yechen assassin's exclusive skill Murderous Aura. You're here. The old man opened his dry, bloodless lips slightly and said this. It was as if he had been waiting for Yechen. I have been a soldier all my life, going against the will of heaven, and using my own efforts to create a cult. The old man said silently, his voice hoarse with vicissitudes of life, it's a pity that time is not kind to anyone. I am nearly 70 years old, one foot has been buried in the ground, and I am really exhausted mentally and physically. The old man was talking to himself, and Yechen listened calmly. This old guy was none other than the founder of the cult. The founder of the cult, he, Sanctuary. Level 48. HP/. Skill. Status, old. At the age of almost returning to the West, there is no one under my knees to inherit the mantle. Young man, do you know this kind of pain? Higu said to himself, with a deep and gentle voice, but only a hint of majesty, young man, you are destined to come here, and you are destined to me. Are you willing to join my cult? I will directly grant you the position of senior evangelist. Wait for it. After I return to the West, you will naturally inherit the position of leader. Obviously, Altar of Evil and Dujula's hero monument are inherited. Poor left-hand heaven thought that Yechen couldn't brush it. In fact, if Yechen was willing, he wouldn't have to continue brushing it at all. Of course, Yechen didn't want to. The high-level evangelist does have considerable temptations, but he is not a god, not even a lower god. The power of faith he possesses is not strong. If it were an ordinary person, there would be no way to become a believer in a god. Maybe he will agree. But Yechen is different. He is already a preacher of a higher god, and will soon become an intermediate preacher. Young man, you are not an ordinary person. I see that you possess pure flame energy. If I guessed correctly, you should be a preacher of a higher god. Moran said, preachers of higher gods do have the ability to brag, but if you are an ambitious person and want to reach the divine level in the future, at that time, the unattainable and narrow-minded gods will descend. I will punish you by obstructing you in every possible way. Yuchen was silent. He was right, that was indeed the case. The gods are indeed not as great as imagined. They spread the power of faith just to enhance their own strength. If their followers, or evangelists, want to put aside their relationship and start their own business, they will definitely not agree easily. At that time, just as he said, divine punishment was imposed and all kinds of obstructions were made. It was precisely in anticipation of this that I was unwilling to become a believer in any god. Boy, you must be very sorry, because you cannot freely erase your relationship with the gods. He suddenly smiled. It doesn't matter, I can help you. I have this ability. Although I will be punished by God, I, a dying man, don't care at all. Thank you for your kindness, I don't think I need it, Yuchen said with a smile. Yuchen also experienced the so-called divine punishment in his previous life. Of course, Yuchen was very poor in his previous life. Let alone a preacher of a higher god, until the end, he was just an ordinary believer of a lower god. Even if a believer reaches level 99 and obtains godhead, if he wants to advance to the divine level, he will be punished by the gods. And divine punishment is not the true God, but just a clone of the God. They are all clones of gods. The clones of higher gods are naturally much more powerful than the clones of lower gods. Even so, they do not have the strength of true gods. In real terms, they are at most sub-gods. Above the holy level, but weaker than the divine level. Of course, Yuchen was defeated by Yashen in his previous life, and the godhead he had worked so hard to obtain was destroyed. But in this life, Yashen has nothing to be afraid of. Even if he is a sub-god who is a clone of a superior god, Yashen is sure to kill him. In fact, the previous life of Dream World was running for 4 years, and there were many god-level players. Among them, Huowu is a god-level player. Since Huowu has this ability, Yashen has no reason not to believe in himself. This is not to belittle Huowu, but in this life, Yashen's strength is far superior to Huowu. What? You refused? He stood up excitedly, with a look of disbelief on his face. If you don't reach the divine level, how strong is the power of faith? To be honest, I don't like your so-called cult. Yuchen said with a smile. Bullshit. I have been a soldier all my life and have been obsessed with founding sections in my old age. I have never reached the divine level. But if you can reach the divine level, the power of the cult's belief will naturally increase, he roared. Hey, if I reach the divine level, I will naturally start a section. Why do you need your cult? Yuchen smiled evilly and said, you said you spent your life in the army, but in my opinion, you are just a frog at the bottom of a well, sitting in a well and looking at the sky. Yes, if you reach the divine level, you can freely create sects and spread your beliefs freely. Why do you need my cult? He murmured to himself, dumbfounded, as if he had aged dozens of years again. I'm not willing to give in, I'm not willing to give in. I have devoted my life to creating the cult that someone must inherit. He became hysterical and roared, if you don't want to, I will find someone else. But before that, I must kill you. All non-believers of my religion will be killed. As he said this, his whole body became filled with murderous aura. Old man, aren't you cheating people? I told you that your so-called evil cult is just a third-rate section, Yuchen sneered. So what if I cheat people? My life's work cannot be buried with me. It must be carried forward. Otherwise, what is the meaning of my life? He couldn't control his emotions. Of course, he was not a good guy. At this moment, his murderous intention was exposed, so he wanted to kill Yuchen to vent his anger. And Yuchen's purpose of coming here was actually to kill he. Although he looked down on the evil cult, if he killed he would get something he wanted. Speaking of his strength, he is a strong man in the holy domain, but he is old and weak. He is only a level 48 holy domain, and his HP is only 150 million, you know, a level 40 holy beast generally has nearly 1 billion HP. HP is one thing, and his strength has also declined. He is not a real holy domain, at most sub-holy. Just like Tujula's loyal dog. His strongest and most proud ability is Murderous Aura, which reduces Yechen's all attributes by 30%. Boy, you will die, he roared and chanted silently, and then spit out a black fire dragon. This is the 30th level ultimate move of the fire mage, Fire Dragon Break. But what he sent out was not the fire type, but the dark type. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 345. Yuchen's dark resistance is no better than his fire resistance, only the black leather coat increases it by 150 points. Of course, the black leather coat is immune to 30% damage, which is also very impressive. Yuchen stood still, preparing to take a hard blow to judge his damage. Minus 3,850. A huge amount of damage appeared from above his head, but Yechen smiled because he could bear it. Immediately, Yuchen activated buffs such as Blood Blade, Poison Quenching, Wind Step, and War Cry, and strode forward to engage in close combat with He. Due to the influence of the Murderous Aura, his damage has been reduced a lot, but a basic attack is still 12,000 plus, and the Bloodlight Blade will restore health by 10%. In 1 second, Yuchen slashed several times, and the HP he consumed was instantly restored to full. Next, the two sides began to fight in close combat. Yuchen's HP kept rising and falling, but the minimum did not exceed 40%, and it often returned to full, so there was no danger for the time being. In a few seconds, Yuchen finished all 3 sets of finishing moves, knocking out his millions of HP. At this time, the blood bar on his head dropped by about 1%, which greatly increased Yuchen's confidence. After knocking down a bottle of mid-level mental stimulation elixir, Yuchen began to wander while outputting. After the skill CD, his output could not keep up, and the blood return effect of the Bloodlight Blade was also reduced. Yuchen walked around to avoid himself being injured and killed. At this time, the high intelligence of the blood tree came into play. It stretched out its branches and tried to entangle He. If successful, Yuchen can safely output. However, he was extremely cunning. He grabbed it with his bare hands, and a torch appeared in his hand. He then blew the flame and sprayed out a thick tongue of flame. This time it was a red flame, and the tongues of fire submerged the branches. The bloody tree screamed in pain and hurriedly retreated. At this point, he lost the danger of being controlled. "Go away," He Chen shouted, turned and blew a tongue of fire towards Yechen. Looking at the roaring flames, Yechen was not afraid at all. However, after the tongue of fire hit him, although it only caused more than 300 points of damage, it exploded with a powerful impact, sending Yechen flying away. The blood tree reacted quickly and stretched out its branches to hold Yuchen, who was flying upside down. Even so, there was a certain distance between them and He. Although the damage is not high, does it have a knock-up effect? What does he want to do next? Yechen said silently. Hayek is obviously the kind of intelligent NPC who has a mind of his own. He broke the blood tree's control with one wave, and then pushed Yuchen back. It was obvious that he had a purpose. %U0026*UN. Sure enough, his dry lips kept opening and closing, spitting out obscure words, which was obviously singing. As he chanted, multiple teleportation arrays appeared under his feet. Not long after, a large number of villains emerged from the teleportation array, more than 100 in number, carrying torches and dancing towards the Yuchen blood tree. Human C tactic, Yuchen sneered and rushed forward again. Although Blade Storm is still cooling down, small skills such as Sap, Stab, and Throat Wipe have already been cooled down. Yuchen is not afraid of this kind of human sea tactic at all. What's more, these villains' fire-blowing and flame-exploding techniques pose no threat to him at all. Yuchen rushed forward and fought with the villains with a knife. At this time, he was not idle, waiting for an opportunity to make trouble. His fire-blowing has a knock-up effect, knocking Yuchen away again and again. This young man has strong fire resistance. My stupid servants, don't use fire-blowing, just attack him directly, he said in an old voice. After hearing this, the villains decisively gave up blowing fire and exploding flames, even threw away their torches, besieged Yuchen, started beating and kicking. -620. -632. -619. After throwing away the torch, the villain's damage increased. After a wave of group attacks, Yuchen's HP dropped to the lowest level, and he hurriedly started the Paoju. After turning into a hegemonic body, Yuchen breathed a sigh of relief. Now even his blowing fire could not blow him away. During the violent attack, the blood tree activated the flying red leaves. Suddenly, a strong wind blew, and all the red leaves on the blood tree flew, puff, 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 and fired at the group of monsters. The skills are very gorgeous and the output is sufficient. The villains scream in agony and their HP drops rapidly. Yuchen grinned, put away his knife, summoned Xiao Hong, and plunged into the sea of fire. Flying red leaves and sea of fire, killing the villain instantly in one wave. Two Golden Lord pets, he looked shocked, and his two sunken and turbid old eyes flashed with a bright light. However, he didn't know that the blood tree was not a pet at all. At this time, Yuchen's front was clear and there was no obstacle, so he rushed forward and attacked Heqiang. After the hegemonic body dissipated, he still blew fire from time to repel Yuchen. Yuchen has nothing to do about this for the time being. Fortunately, even if he is knocked away, the combined attack of Xiao He, Xueshu, and Xiao Hong can still cause considerable damage to he. Every time his HP drops 1.5 million, he will start singing, but will Yuchen let him succeed? Since normal attacks can't break the move, I shoot a stun dart to stun it and complete the break naturally. After that, Yuchen mastered the rhythm, and the output frequency became faster and faster. It took half an hour to push he down. With a chi sound, his fallen body exploded magnificently, and all kinds of equipment, coins, and materials fell all over the floor. Among them, there was another piece of equipment that shone with dazzling holy light. Yuchen locked it at a glance, and it was obviously a holy weapon. Fire trigger, holy artifact. Level 45. Magic attack, 729,989. Intelligence add 300. Spirit add 300. Attack method, blowing fire. Note, this weapon does not restrict professions. Yes, this holy weapon is the torch in his hand. No wonder he doesn't need fuel to blow fire, and there is no CD. It turns out that it is not a skill at all, but just the attack method of this holy weapon. Yuchen smiled suddenly. This holy weapon is a magic attack, and Yuchen's magic attack is not too low because of the full attribute feedback power of the blood tree. More importantly, blowing fire is a fire attribute, and his fire strength is high. Yuchen roughly calculated that he and Xiao He blowing fire together, at this stage, it is about 15,000 damage. This damage is not as high as the ordinary attack of the dagger, but blowing fire is a group attack, and it has a knockback effect. Combined as a whole, it can be regarded as a usable toy. Yuchen picked up the torch, changed his clothes and carried it on his shoulder, then squatted down to look for it, and finally found the item he wanted. Heart of Sin, holy item / consumable after use, strength, physical strength, intelligence, spirit, and agility add 100 points. Killing a person will increase 1 point of sin value. The Heart of Sin is a fist-sized heart, which is still beating vigorously in Yuchen's hand. Xiao Hong naturally doesn't care about such a bloody object, but the blood tree trembles with excitement. Ye Chen patted the trunk of the blood tree and said with a smile, "Hee, I can't give this thing to you." As he said that, Ye Chen's palm suddenly exerted force, and the heart of Sin split open, and scarlet and sticky blood flowed out. The blood differentiated into countless branches, like small red snakes, rushing rapidly along Ye Chen's arm to the whole body. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, Ba Wang Shi-san. Chapter 346. After a while, Ye Chen was covered with irregular red stripes from head to toe, as if he had been engraved. These stripes have high temperature, and Ye Chen felt the burning pain. After a moment, the burning pain disappeared, and was replaced by strength. This is a kind of power that increases all attributes. System, your strength, physical strength, intelligence, spirit, and agility add 100 points. System, you absorb the energy of the heart of Sin, and killing people increases the Sin value, regardless of the camp or country. Hearing the system prompts ringing in his ears, Ye Chen smiled slightly. This sinful heart, killing people increases the Sin value. Most people avoid it, although all attributes increase by 100 points, even if you get it, you have to weigh it first. But Ye Chen is different. He has the hell suit, and what he wants is the Sin value. Since the alliance with the demon army, Ye Chen has no enemies in the light camp, and his reputation is very high. If he kills people wantonly, he will inevitably be criticized. And now, he will be red-named if he kills people, and his Sin value will increase. Outside the Black Well. What's going on? We've been waiting for more than half an hour, why hasn't that guy come out yet? Can he really play the hidden dungeon alone? Impossible? Could it be that he has already escaped before we arrived? After waiting for more than half an hour, the demons gradually lost their patience and began to whisper. The left-handed heaven in front heard it, his face suddenly sank, and he shouted, "What are you arguing about? Do you think the hidden dungeon is easy? Isn't it normal to play it for 1 or 2 hours? Wait a little longer, anyway, it is absolutely impossible for him to play the hidden dungeon alone." Hearing this, everyone nodded, restrained their impatience, and continued to check the spot. At this time, a beam of light rose from the Black Well, and then Ye Chen flashed out with a torch. The blood tree and Xiao Hong also flashed out. One person, one tree, one bird. Look, Ye Chen, that kid is out, haha, there is no broadcast, he really didn't succeed in opening up the wasteland. Nonsense, how can one person clear the hidden dungeon? Isn't this obvious? Hey guys, compared to this, what's the big tree next to Ye Chen? What a big tree! Could it be his pet? What about the fire phoenix next to it? 2 pets? Impossible, he is not a trainer. Even if he is not a trainer, he still has 2 pets, a fire phoenix, a towering tree. It seems that they are not ordinary stuff. Everyone looked at Ye Chen, the blood tree, and the fire phoenix, and was shocked for a while. The left-hand heaven and the right-hand hell narrowed their eyes, they had a high degree of recognition, and saw through the attributes of the blood tree and Xiao Hong at a glance. Are they all gold lords? The fire phoenix has only 45,000 HP, it should be a pet without a doubt. And the big tree has more than 1 million HP. This is not a pet. The left hand stared at Ye Chen tightly. He did not expect Ye Chen to have such a powerful helper, and immediately put away his contempt. On the other side, Ye Chen knew that the demon god would not let it go, so he was prepared. At this moment, seeing Zuo Xiao Tiantang and other 300 people, he smiled playfully. What a grand show, the demon god guild is indeed worthy of its reputation. Ye Chen, you are in the light camp, but you came to our dark camp to grab the copy. Although you didn't get the copy, this matter can't be let go. Zuo Xiaotiantang snorted coldly and said, don't blame us for bullying the few with the large number of people, you asked for it. I don't blame you, come on, all of you come together. Ye Chen smiled, raised his eyebrows, and said, by the way, I have taken this hidden copy, but it has not been broadcasted. What? You have already taken it? No broadcast? It must be of average difficulty. Everyone was shocked again, but suddenly realized that since there was no broadcast, it would not be considered the first kill, and the reward should not be generous. However, they didn't know that Ye Chen got the Heart of Sin, which was the only precious item. Whether you have it or not, you can't leave today. Kill, Zuo Xiaotiantang roared, and everyone danced wildly. As the elite of the demon gods, they are all first-class masters. At this moment, they don't care about Sushu and Xiaohong at all, and they directly attack Ye Chen. Because once Ye Chen dies, no matter whether it is a pet or something else, it will all disappear. The warriors charge, and the long-range ones release big moves, arrow rain, fire dragons, overwhelming. Ye Chen spread his snake wings and flew directly into the air to avoid the attacks. Sushu attacked at the same time, and his huge body shook for a while. Zhenxin level 4. There was a tremor, and Zuo Xiaotiantang and others shook uncontrollably from side to side, and then fell to the ground, howling. Red leaves flying. The next moment, a crazy wind blew, and all the red leaves on the blood tree flew, like darts, puff 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 sweeping towards the enemy. Amid the howling, countless white lights flashed, and the number of enemy troops dropped sharply. In the blink of an eye, only heaven, hell, and a few masters were left. The buzzing sound of Doqi cutting through the air sounded, and heaven and hell both activated Doqi. One red and one green, representing the power overlord and the wise man. Obviously, heaven and hell, as the presidents of the Demon God Guild, are very powerful and have reached the rank of major. As for the other 10 survivors, most of them are shield warriors, or priest players hiding behind the shield warrior's iron wall. After the attack of the blood tree, only 12 people were left in the 300-man group of the demon god. The corner of Zuo Xiaotiantang's mouth twitched fiercely. Hell! Tiantang was about to say something, but he saw Ye Chen take down the torch he was carrying, and then he actually sprayed out a fierce flame. The flame whistled past, and Hell's eyes condensed, and he raised his hand to wave the magic circle. The next moment, a bone wall popped out from the ground, blocking the flame. Dash! As the damage emerged from the bone wall, with a crack, the bone wall shattered and turned into white bones falling to the ground. Damage! Hell's eyes shrank, but he saw Ye Chen smiled coldly and blew fire continuously. Hey, damage, is it just an ordinary attack? At this moment, everyone was completely panicked and ran away desperately. Heaven and hell ran on the left and right, which made the shield warrior and the priest miserable. The shield warrior raised his shield to block, but was still submerged by the flame, and the priest behind him died. A few seconds later, only heaven and hell were left in the entire group of demons. Hell was a necromancer who had summoned a large number of undead when he fled, skeleton warriors, skeleton shield guards, skeleton archers, and even 2 skeleton knights riding skeleton war horses. The undead army rushed forward fiercely, while heaven was a berserker. Now that he had not accumulated enough rage points, he could not go crazy either. He could only follow the undead army in frustration and calmly look for opportunities. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 347. Ye Shen's strength is so strong. Zhou Xiaotiantang hid behind the army of undead, but he didn't feel safe at all. Ye Chen's fire blowing, he couldn't understand it at all. Not only did it have high damage, but it was also a group attack. More importantly, there was no CD. The number of undead armies was large, but how many waves could they withstand? Sure enough, Ye Chen didn't let him down. After blowing the fire several times, the attack skeletons fell apart and turned into bones. Although Zhou Xiaotiantang was not directly attacked, the fire blowing had a knockback effect, blowing the skeletons away and hitting him suddenly, taking him back with him, minus 2190. A damage appeared from the top of his head. Zhou Xiaotiantang was stunned for a moment, and immediately stood up. I understand, blowing fire is not powerful, what is really powerful is Ye Shen's fire power. The left-handed heaven's eyes were gloomy, and he roared, "Hell, change fire resistance equipment." Ye Shen's fire power is at least 400 points. As soon as the voice fell, Ye Chen blew a tongue of fire at him, instantly drowning him, minus 8950. The left-handed heaven was full of physical equipment and had super strong defense, but he was killed by Ye Chen before he had time to change to fire resistance equipment. He died unjustly, because his HP was almost 8500, just a little bit short, but the most important thing is that from beginning to end, he did not get close to Ye Chen, otherwise he would have accumulated enough rage points and opened a hegemony. How could he die so easily? The left-handed heaven ended in regret, and Hell sighed and smiled bitterly. At this point, what's the use of me changing to fire resistance equipment? Hell summoned the undead one after another, but was easily killed by Ye Chen's blowing fire. As time passed, his MP could not keep up with the rhythm. Ye Chen was just playing with the fire like a monkey. Hell dodged left and right, but was still hit by the flames, minus 4200. Your fire resistance is quite high, and your HP is not bad. Seeing that Hell had received 4200 points of damage and there was nearly one-third of the blood bar above his head, Ye Chen sighed and blew the fire wantonly. 3 seconds later, Hell made a mistake in his position due to nervousness and was killed instantly. Hee, this toy is quite interesting. Ye Chen waved the torch randomly for a few times, smiled with satisfaction, and then carried it on his shoulder. This holy toy can only be played by people with high fire strength like him. And his fire strength is now over 400 points, nearly 500 points. Looking at the entire Chinese war zone, I am afraid no one can surpass it. Killed 301 demons, because of the effect of the Heart of Sin, he increased his sin value by 301 points. If it were an ordinary player, he would definitely complain, but Ye Chen was smiling, because of the effect of the Hell suit, 301 sins increased his basic attack power by 60 points. The more sins he has, the stronger he is. The demons will probably not give up, and they will definitely send more people. It's just right, I'll wait for them here, and by the way, capture this sugarcane garden village. After cleaning up the spoils, Ye Chen carried a torch, took Su Shu and Xiao Hong and walked slowly on the streets of sugarcane garden village. Some panicked NPCs were encountered on the way, and they were all killed. 10 minutes later, Ye Chen's killing footprints filled the sugarcane garden village, and after killing the last NPC, sugarcane garden village suddenly shook, and a huge crystal appeared in the center of the village. Immediately, Ye Chen rushed over and blew up the crystal in 2 or 3 moves. In an instant, the entire sugarcane garden village flashed with dazzling white light, and the dilapidated village was completely renewed. The crystal was also revived, but on this crystal, the 2 big characters Ye Chen were engraved, indicating that this was Ye Chen's village. System, congratulations on conquering the sugarcane garden village of the Dark Camp, merit add 2500 points. Monarch City broadcast, warning. Warning. The player Ye Chen of the Light Camp conquered the sugarcane garden village of the city, and a penalty was imposed. All players in this city will have their experience halved within 2 hours. Monarch City broadcast, players, please cherish the territory of the city and take back the sugarcane garden village as soon as possible. Those who complete it will receive a buff that increases the experience value in an instant. Monarch City is the LV4 main city of the Dark Camp. the village within its territory was conquered, and a penalty was imposed directly. Although it was not serious, it made the players indignant. Who is Yeshen? He actually came to our dark camp to make trouble. Brothers, gather together and kill him. Reclaim the village and it will become the player's private property. Enjoy the system dividends. Only players who are currently in the Monarch City will hear the broadcast. Only those who hear the broadcast will be punished. Players who rush to the Monarch City later will not be punished. For a while, all the players in the Monarch City, either angry or greedy, all besieged the sugarcane garden village. On the other side, the people of left-hand heaven, right-hand hell, etc. were also stunned when they heard the main city broadcast. Last month, when Yechen was more than level 30, he actually came to the Monarch City and captured 8 towns. Of course, those 8 towns were finally taken over by them. But at that time, they did not hear the broadcast. That's because they were not in the Monarch City at that time. In fact, at that time, the players were just level 30. Monarch City is a LV4 main city. Except for Yechen, no one heard the broadcast, so naturally no one was punished. This time, it caused such a shock. That kid Yechen is too presumptuous, Zuo Xiao Tiantang roared. In the dark camp, the demon god guild is the leader. Yechen captured Jaywan village in their hands. This is a big slap in the face. Brother, before being killed by Yechen, I quietly inserted a detection device under a stone. Hell sighed, now, I can see the slightest movement in Jaywan village. Yechen did not leave. He seems to be planning to guard the village alone. One person? Trying to stop the anger of our entire dark camp? Can he bear it? Left-hand heaven snorted coldly and roared more and more. The stronger Yechen showed, the more it represented the incompetence of the demon god. This, he could never tolerate. Hell smiled bitterly and said, Yechen has great strength, and the human wave tactics may not be effective against him. Our main group is not his opponent, and I am afraid that only the king can suppress him. Heaven nodded and said, I know this, but Lan Yan, Taishan, Goitu, and other kings will not care about such trivial matters. They should be pioneering in Zhihaixia, and we can't invite them. Kings, almost all of them are world-class competitive players, and they stand on the position of the country. They don't care much about the camp. Generally speaking, as long as it does not threaten their vital interests, they will not care at all. Then let Yanguo come back, Hell asked. Well, this guy is the only king in our guild, so let him help. I guess this kid is always reluctant. Heaven smiled bitterly. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 348. You two can't even handle this little thing, do you still need to bother me? In the waters near the island number 40 of Zhihaixia, Yanguo had just dealt with a national lord and was leading the fleet to the next island. Yanguo's ID is quite girly, but he is a real man, about 20 years old, with black hair and black robe, handsome and suave. Google searched Can. At this moment, facing the requests of Tiantang and Hell, he was full of impatience. From his tone, it seems that he is also a proud man. For his attitude, Tiantang has long been accustomed to it, and smiled bitterly. Yechen is very strong, and he is the champion of the light camp of the martial arts competition. According to gossip, he seems to have killed Lan Yan once in a single fight, although he was killed by a cannon. Tiantang tried his best to make Yechen sound a little stronger, but after talking for a long time, he felt that he was not convincing. Because at the beginning, he also looked down on the champion of the light camp. After all, there is no king in the light camp, which is an ironclad fact. Compared to this, killing Lan Yan alone is much more shocking, but it's a pity that Yechen was killed by a cannon. Tisk, you talked for a long time, but you didn't show his strength at all. As for defeating you, That's also a very simple thing. It's not known whether Yanguo's personality is straightforward or dark. He didn't know that he said that Tiantang had already suffered 10,000 points of damage. Yanguo coughed dryly and said, I'm on the way to the next island now. Anyway, you guys deal with it first, and I'll take a national lord first. Okay, just agree. After all, this is related to the reputation of our demon god guild. Seeing Yanguo agreed, Tiantang nodded gratefully. Although he is the president, his attitude towards Yanguo is very peaceful, and even a little bit of awe. This is the status of the king. Beside him, Hell has been waiting for a long time. Seeing Tiantang end the call, he immediately asked nervously, how is it, did that guy agree? Heaven smiled bitterly and said, it can be considered an agreement, but he has to get a first kill first. Hell, let's send someone over first. Well, that's it. Hell nodded. On the other side, Sugarcane Garden Village. Yechen conquered Sugarcane Garden Village, causing it to produce its own crystal. Set toll, 10 silver coins. Yechen opened the management system of Sugarcane Garden Village and set the toll. At this time, the crystal sank into the ground again. At this time, unless someone kills all the NPCs in Sugarcane Garden Village, the crystal will be forced out again. The head of the village or the end of the village, forget it, just wait in the middle. Yechen carried a torch, swung around, smiled, and turned back to prepare to wait in the center of the village. After waiting for about 3 minutes, Yechen received a system prompt. System, player Potato enters Sugarcane Garden Village and pays you a 10 silver coin pass fee. System, player Angry Winter Melon enters Sugarcane Garden Village and pays you a 10 silver coin pass fee. System, player Flying Fish enters Sugarcane Garden Village and pays you a 10 silver coin pass fee. There were more and more system prompts, and Yechen couldn't take care of them all. Looking at the soaring coins, he couldn't help but feel relieved. Soon, the first team of players who came to intercept arrived. There were about 1,000 people in total, splitting from the left and right, surrounding Yechen, Shueshu, and Xiaohong. Master, there are so many enemies, Shueshu said with a surprised tone. Yechen had always asked it to act low-key, but it didn't expect that Yechen himself would act so high-profile. These are just pawns, and there will be more people behind. Shueshu, if you can't bear it, disguise yourself as a small stone, don't be stubborn. Yechen smiled back. When the war starts, there will be a sea of fire everywhere, Master, even if I disguise myself at that time, it will be broken in an instant. But it doesn't matter, I'm not as fragile as you think, Shueshu said. Yechen nodded. Even if Shueshu was really in danger, he would naturally use the magic escape talisman to escape first, and then use the team teleport to pull. Yechen was negotiating with the blood tree, but the enemy army was stunned. Wow, what a huge tree! Anyone who can identify it quickly, identify it quickly. I identified it, the Golden Lord. And it doesn't seem to be Yeshen's pet, with nearly 1.5 million HP. 1.5 million? What the hell is this? Don't panic. Whether it's a pet, a summoned beast, or something else. If we kill Yeshen, the giant tree and the fire phoenix will disappear. Damn, Yeshen is so lucky, a Golden Lord assistant, a fire phoenix pet. If this was given to me, I would also be the champion. For a while, everyone looked at Yechen with envy and jealousy. The Dark Camp has the most kings. The top 8 of martial arts tournament were almost swept by the kings. And the Light Camp, there is no king, so, the players of the Dark Camp naturally don't take the people of the Light Camp seriously. Now Yechen has won the championship, but in their eyes, he is just a lucky guy with external forces. Swish. The two sides were on the verge of a fight. Someone released a sea of fire, and then countless seas of fire emerged, covering the entire battlefield. These 1,000 people were all savages, not from the same guild, so the sea of fire would also hurt other teams. For a while, everyone cursed. On the other side, there were at least 100 seas of fire stacked under Ye Chen's feet. Even so, he only deals a few hundred points of damage per second. In other words, an average sea of fire can only cause single-digit damage to him. Damn, what a high fire resistance! At least thousands of fire resistance. For a while, everyone shouted wildly, and various long-range professions also released skills like cannonballs. Ye Chen decisively activated the hegemony, took a wave, and then rushed out with a torch. Blowing fire. Ye Chen blew at the torch, and it was aflame. Group attack. A tongue of fire was about 15 yards long and about 3 yards wide at most. It killed at least 20 players in an instant, and the red name deepened. At the same time, Xiao Hong also sprayed fireballs to attack. As the level increased, ordinary fireballs became Xiao Hong's ordinary attack, but the fireball range was small and the damage was only about 3,000, which was no longer comparable to Ye Chen. In the blink of an eye, Ye Chen had set fire to hundreds of people, and his sins and merits increased double. It was so cool. It's so humming terrifying, infinite fire, 16,000 group attacks. And the Overlord, the defense is almost invincible. How to fight this? What about control? Control it? Control you set so many seas of fire, our ice mages condense and are instantly melted by the flames. Stupid, teammates like pigs, what's the point of fighting this? The quality of the savages is notoriously low, anyway, they don't know each other, and they spit shit. And facing the internal strife among the crowd, it was a waste for Ye Chen. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 349. Ye Chen danced wildly with a torch in his hand, like a fierce dragon crossing the river, and wherever he passed, a large number of people fell. The more people he killed, the more the enemy army consumed. For example, the death of a large number of fire mages also took away his own sea of fire. For a moment, the rolling sea of fire on the battlefield looked much dimmer. The sea of fire was of course only one aspect. At this time, Ye Chen suffered less and less damage, and the threat level was getting lower and lower. On the other hand, the blood tree was also very fierce. Dozens of branches attacked in groups, basically killing instantly. With passive blood sucking, the HP that was burned by the sea of fire before was gradually replenished. Ye Chen was very satisfied with this, and sighed secretly that he had underestimated the blood tree. The terrifying amount of blood, excellent group attack and powerful blood sucking, the endurance of the blood tree was extremely strong. Unless facing those kings, there was basically no danger. As for Xiao Hong, Ye Chen was even less worried. Xiao Hong was a pet anyway, so it was not a big problem even if she died. Moreover, as the level increases, Xiao Hong becomes stronger and stronger, and his wings become more powerful. From the beginning, he could only fly at a low altitude of one person, but now he can fly at a height of 2 or 3 people. In this way, melee professions can basically not hurt him. Damn, this guy is simply a monster. We have fought for so long, but in the end, he is still full of blood. Looking at the monster like Ye Chen, the survivors of the first wave were sweating and screaming in fear. If it were not for the continuous reinforcement of friendly forces, they would probably have fled without a fight. Ye Chen, on the other hand, became more and more courageous. Although the enemies could never be killed, and even more and more were killed, this did not affect Ye Chen's fighting spirit at all. Ye Chen held a torch and set fire everywhere like a crazy arsonist. The blood tree could kill dozens of people in one wave, which was extremely terrifying, but because of its insufficient speed, its efficiency of slaughter was still not as good as Yechen. System, your sin value reaches 10,000 points, and you can open the gate of hell. In less than half an hour, the above system prompts in Yechen's ears. Is it already 10,000 points of sin? Yechen raised his eyebrows and smiled. He could feel that his output had gone up several levels. Because of the effect of the hell suit, 10,000 points of sin is equal to 2,000 basic attack power. This basic attack power is common to both physical and magic attack power. Never underestimate the basics, because various skills, even fire power, etc., are percentage damage. Sometimes when the basics are increased, the actual damage will be shocking. Now Yechen was shocked. He blew the fire and it turned out to be 35,000 group attacks. Iron Wall. Yechen was seen charging with a torch, and several shield warriors in front of him were sweating and immediately activated the Iron Wall. The combination of multiple shield warriors and iron walls made an indestructible iron wall appear in front of Yechen. However, blow the fire. Bang. The flames hit the iron wall and actually punched a hole in it. The 3 shield warriors in that range flew out immediately. The iron wall was also destroyed. Blow the fire. Yechen just found it funny, and blew it again, killing all the enemies, including the shield warrior with high defense and high blood. Monster. Damn, my big brother is a shield warrior and HP, with 120 fire resistance, but he was still killed instantly. Yechen is too powerful, he can kill instantly with a large-scale group attack, whoever goes up will die. Yeah, rushing up will only cost you a level. Not only that, he recovers blood when killing people, and the blood we concentrated our fire on is restored to full in an instant. For a moment, the enemies around Yechen were frightened, and they even retreated tremblingly, and shouted, kindly advising the people behind not to die in vain. However, the newcomers behind them had no idea about the situation. Seeing that they were afraid of death, they immediately started to criticize. Damn, look at the corpses on the battlefield. Yechen single-handedly challenged our entire dark camp and killed tens of thousands of our players. Not only did you not take revenge, but you also fanned the flames and tempted us to escape. Yeah, coward. You took my kindness for granted, I don't care about USBS, do whatever you want. The old hands finally couldn't stand it and chose to escape, while the people who came up behind them criticized and rushed forward, and were killed by Yechen's fire. And so on. As time passed, Yechen, Shueshu, and Xiaohong killed more and more people. Combined with the overall, Yechen's sin value reached more than 30,000. The basic attack power rose with the tide. Yechen himself had a basic of about 2,000 points. Now add 6,000 points, which is 8,000 points. With such a foundation, he blew fire with Xiaohe, and actually reached 68,000 group attack, which was simply explosive. You know, now the squishy players generally have only about 1,000 HP, and the berserker and other professions generally have more than 6,000. Only the shield warriors who are full of purple equipment and have completed the LV3 physical puzzle can have HP exceeding 10,000. Even so, Yechen blew the fire, and all kinds of damage overflowed and killed instantly. Yechen's stupid red name, red is black. This game is a waste, all players are above level 40, and we have thousands of people fighting one at the same time, but we can't beat it. It's said that the RMB warrior, whoever recharges money will be awesome. Rubbish game, you can't even recharge money. The enemy army was not convinced and cursed. However, Yechen was still slaughtering, and their army was beaten and crawled, screaming but not falling, but there was nothing they could do. No, my teammates are too stupid. Damn, there are always idiots who deliberately set fire to the sea to highlight themselves. I am an ice mage, and I am completely useless. Yeah, after all, we are not from the same guild, and there are all kinds of conflicts that cannot be stopped. There are also reporters, kill them. The battlefield became more and more chaotic, and many reporters mixed in. The so-called reporter is a magical profession. The motivation for them to play games and upgrade is to get in touch with high-end players. Then they record some big scenes and send them to the internet to insert GG for profit. They have no sense of mission at all. Now that Ye Chen is challenging the entire Dark Camp alone, they are not angry at all. They mixed into the battlefield just to take a few close-up shots of Ye Chen. Even if they die and lose levels, they think it is worth it. In the chaos, Ye Chen still slaughtered wantonly. Not long after, with a bang, a crystal appeared next to Ye Chen. This means that the NPCs in the sugarcane garden village have been slaughtered. At this time, whoever blows up the crystal will be the next village chief of the sugarcane garden village. In less than an hour, Ye Chen had already collected 400,000 silver coins as a fee. If converted into cash, this would be 4 million RMB. Adding the dividends from the system store, it was almost 500,000 RMB. And this 4.5 million was just Ye Chen's profit in this hour. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 350. The people present were not fools. Looking at the crystal that suddenly appeared, their eyes were red for a while. They knew that Ye Chen, the damn guy, set a full 10 silver coins for the pass. 10 yuan, one person is nothing, everyone present thought so, and took it out. But now, how many people did Ye Chen kill? The red name will become black. The person involved is Ye Chen. They don't know how much Ye Chen earned, but it is obviously a lot. At this time, the crystal appeared. Whoever knocked it down will be the next village chief. Roar. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow Diamond Suit. Diamond Suit. The players who had lost their fighting spirit suddenly went crazy, ignoring Ye Chen and bombarding the crystal. Ye Chen wanted to defend, but he was willing but not strong enough. At this time, perhaps the Holy Domain Blood Tree could defend, but he couldn't. The crystal seemed very fragile in front of the army. 3 seconds later, the crystal was blown up. I don't know which lucky guy it was. After the crystal was blown up, the sugarcane garden village flashed white light again, and the dilapidated village was refreshed again. The crystal was also resurrected, engraved with a new name, and sank into the ground again in an instant. Damn, who is so lucky? Damn, as long as Ye Chen is still there, there will be a large number of players rushing over. That guy made a fortune. That kid is even more evil than Ye Chen. He actually set a 20 silver coins for the transition fee and took advantage of the fire to rob. For a while, all kinds of dissatisfied roars broke out on the battlefield. On the other side, Ye Chen also sighed secretly. After thinking for a while, he gave up the idea of continuing to capture the sugarcane garden village. After all, he was only one person. Even if he succeeded in capturing it again, he believed that he would be captured by the enemy soon. He made 4.5 million in the first wave, which was already very good. But he thought so, but others didn't think so. Ye Chen is now considered a big shot and is not short of money. If you can make as much money as you can, it doesn't matter if you can't make any money. But other ordinary players don't think so. No matter how small a mosquito is, it's still meat. If they can make tens of thousands of dollars from this, they will laugh in their dreams. For a while, the players who were originally dealing with Ye Chen scattered, and went to clean up the new NPCs in the sugarcane garden village. As they left, a well-equipped large group rushed over. The leader, riding a giant white wolf, was Yan Guo. Yan Guo's profession is hunter, which is very special and can be regarded as a branch profession of the tamer. Hunters can also summon multiple pets to participate in the battle at the same time. On this basis, the tamer tends to be a mage, assisting pets, blessing various states, etc. It is for this reason that Tujula is called the all-spirit mage. Therefore, the tamer tends to be a mage, and the weapon is also a staff. Hunters tend to be warriors, using various traps with pets, and holding crossbows or daggers to output or induce. Goodfellow, a pet of the Golden Lord, a summoned creature of the Golden Lord. No wonder he is so arrogant. Yanguo rode a snow wolf and rushed over. He was not in a hurry to attack, but observed first. At this time, Yechen's blowing attracted Yanguo's attention. Huh, nearly 70,000 group attacks, how is this possible? Yanguo was stunned, and his expression instantly tightened. If it is said that at the beginning, Yanguo came reluctantly, and did not take Yechen seriously at all, ready to swat Yechen to death like a fly. However, Yechen burst out with nearly 70,000 group attacks, which shocked Yanguo's eyes in an instant, and his whole body couldn't help shaking. Dream World is still a relatively balanced game, which pays attention to technology, but in the face of absolute damage, all technology is nonsense. 70,000 group attacks, who dares to bear it? Even if it sticks a little, it is a rhythm of death. Holy Word Mage, read equipment and skills. The configuration of Yanguo's group is even better than that of the President's left-hand heaven, with all kinds of rare hidden professions. Yanguo gave an order and continued to observe. After a while, he had a rough understanding of Yechen. Hellsuit, and the title of Abyss Demon. The damage is off the charts, killing people restores health, and even has a 5-second dominance. Yanguo's eyes became colder and colder. Facing Yechen, he felt very difficult. If he could choose, he would rather face other kings such as Lanyan and Gui Tuesday. While pondering and thinking about tactics, Yanguo made another discovery. He found that no matter how Yechen attacked, he would not leave the blood tree too far. Yechen was very obscure about this, but Yanguo still saw through it at a glance. Oh, it seems that it is not an ordinary summoned creature. It should be permanent, and the life is only once. Otherwise, with the giant tree with millions of HP, he would not be so cautious. Yanguo said secretly. There must be something wrong when things are abnormal. Yanguo is knowledgeable and can deduce many things by combining them with the scene. Holy Word Mage, ban the words of firm will and resurrection. Yanguo thought for a while and spoke grimly. No player is omnipotent, and even if there is, they can force a gap. After saying that, the Holy Word Mage began to act, prohibiting Yechen's firm will and resurrection. When he released his skills, he couldn't help but marvel. He didn't expect that Yechen, who was strong on the surface, actually had a passive resurrection. No wonder Yechen dared to come to the dark camp alone to fight with a big name, the Holy Word Mage said in his heart. On the other side, while Yechen was fighting, he also paid attention to Yanguo and others. As his eyes moved, he was surprised to find that the firm will and resurrection in his skill bar seemed to be covered with a layer of grey cloth and became unusable. Holy Word Mage. Yechen sneered. The opponent's various powerful skills did not ban speech, but only banned firm will and resurrection. This was to control himself and then kill him in one wave. However, now that Yechen had seen through it, how could he let the opponent get what he wanted? At this time, Yanguo had summoned 5 pets, all of which looked Lord level. Then, Yanguo looked at the Holy Word Mage. How is it done? Okay, the Holy Word Mage said concisely. Then go. Attack the giant tree. Seeing Yechen's nervous look, I can't help but want to destroy it, Yanguo sneered grimly. He guessed that the blood tree had only one life. If it was killed, it would be a huge loss for Yechen. Yanguo put aside the development of Zhihaixia and came here to deal with Yechen. Naturally, he wanted to play more excitingly. Yanguo led the group and rushed over. Archers, mages, and other long-range professions had already taken the lead and released their ultimate skills like cannonballs, but they ignored Yechen and went straight to the blood tree. The blood tree was too huge, it was a living target. Facing a group attack, it was impossible to dodge and could only withstand it. Arrow Rain. Fire Dragon Break. Holy Light Judgment. Dash. Dash. Minus 9870. Bang bang bang.